Right. So I think we can agree when I say 2023 was a blessing for gamers all around the spectrum. We got some bangers like Baldur's Gate 3, Hogwarts Legacy, Spider-Man 2, Starfield, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, and that one Assassin's Creed game. To be fair, Starfield is getting a DLC that kind of looks nice and maybe a little bit promising. We'll only know once it comes out. But then, at the start of 2024, suddenly we were filled with talks about layoffs. Blizzard, EA, Ubisoft, Epic Games, Riot Games, companies just started letting employees go as 2024 went by. Now, to the normal person, this might seem a little bit out of place. And how could something like this happen? You might ask. Isn't gaming a billion-dollar industry? Approximately 347 billion US dollars. And isn't it supposed to be something even bigger than Hollywood and the movie industry? How is it that with so much growth, we still have a situation where people are losing their jobs? I mean, typically, whenever we see a boom in any industry, for that matter, it means that more money can be earned. Companies want more of that market share, hence producing more products. And to support that production, they hire more employees who would look after it. Then how is it and why that we are in such a situation where this isn't the case? Well, it's not that simple. The gaming industry is growing. It is true. It's still growing. But I don't think people quite understand how huge the industry is. Much of that revenue we see is coming from mobile games. Around 50 to 57%. This is more than the PC and console games made combined. But this isn't what we would focus on today. Our focus is on the big gems, studios who have been a part of this industry for decades, who made some of your favorite games and my favorite games. It all comes down to business decisions. And by that, I mean just bad business decisions that these companies have made. You see, the problem isn't just bad games. These bad business decisions are also a big part of the problem. And it all starts with something which at this point I think has overstayed its mention, which is COVID. With everybody locked inside their homes, they have only one thing to do, which is to spend time in the digital world. The demand for phones, laptops, PCs, everything skyrocketed high at this time. So much so that there was a chip shortage. With the increase in demand, most IT companies and other software companies took big loans with low interest rates, probably thinking that this growth would be an opportunity for them. It was no doubt a good one, but also a very temporarily beneficial one, which I think no one at that time thought would be the case. Unfortunately, gaming companies were also a part of that hopeful illusion of everlasting growth. So a lot of them took loans and started employing more people in order to achieve more growth. Again, which in the short term seemed to be working for them. Remember that at this point, the future was very uncertain and we still didn't have a promising vaccine yet, and we didn't know if we'd be able to even get one. Nevertheless, these companies took out these loans hoping that everything would go their way, and where everything is again back to normal as it was. And that steep growth that so many people thought would happen, well, it turns out it wasn't as steep as they thought it would be. Don't get me wrong, the industry is still growing, but it isn't growing at the rate which it was expected to, which kind of left these companies with some extra debt that they couldn't use to get the expected returns they wanted. On top of that, the interest rates for the loans they had taken had risen. So I kind of looked a bit into these interest rates. To give you an idea, here's a table that I found that shows a bar chart. Very interesting one, I must say. The interest rates in around March of 2020 dipped down from 1.25% to 0.25%. Remember, 1.25% and the interest rates went down. So 0.25% is kind of very low for these companies. So they started taking more loans, especially because they were seeing such a sudden growth in people buying hardware, software, in games. So it made sense for them to take out big loans, especially where interest rates were so low. They thought they could probably, make big returns out of this unnatural growth, and then they'll probably pay back the loan. So these interest rates were 0.25, which in 2024 right now is 5.5%, which isn't a great thing if you have taken a big loan. From 0.25% to 5.5% interest, that is a huge disaster, to be honest. if you have, let's say, $1 billion of loan. If that wasn't bad enough, these companies oversaturated themselves with more employees than they needed on games that had big budgets and probably had a cost more than what was necessary. You could summarize that what we are seeing them do now is kind of downscaling themselves to the normal size, the size that they should have been if we didn't have COVID-19. But of course, it's not just bad business decisions, it's also bad games as well. We come to the next problem, which is that every damn game in the industry wants to be a live service these days. They all want to be the next Fortnite or Call of Duty or the Helldivers. Now this, my fellow viewers, can also be qualified as one of the worst gaming decisions I think a company can make. The problem with these live services is that they all try to be a generic and safe kind of 5v5 or 4v4 shooter, which at this point is every other game. It also doesn't help that most people will only play a few live services at a time, with one game being their go-to live service for them. So if I play Valorant or Fortnite, considering that you are a developer who has made a game, a live service game, the chances of me leaving my game, which is Valorant or Fortnite, to go and play your game are very much dependent on what you have to offer. If the game is something different and new, then I'd probably go and try it, but it also needs to be consistently be providing me something of worth, and it would have to connect to me enough for me to feel comfortable playing that game on a regular basis. Otherwise, it would be just a temporary, I'll play it for 2 to 3 weeks and then I'll go back to Valorant or Counter-Strike. It would also mean that I need to be able to play that game with my friends. I'm not going to buy Call of Duty just because they have a new 5v5 interesting first-person shooter game. No, I'm going to stick with the Counter-Strike or Valorant, which I can play with all my friends for free. But this is just one aspect of the issue. Another issue arises when game studios, they try to make a game franchise that is known for story mode games and turn it into a live service. We saw what happened with Suicide Squad, which took and made a mockery out of the Batman Arkham games from a studio which was highly regarded. Now they're just looked down upon as just another studio who went after the money, and their greed got them rewarded with disappointment only. And it's kind of unlikely that this trend of live service is going to stop. I think we'll be seeing plenty of rock studies down the line, especially as more and more studios try to dip their toes in that Genshin Impact and Fortnite money printing machine industry. See, games are supposed to be fun. If I'm not having fun while playing games, then I don't know what the point of it would really be. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that games shouldn't be realistic or shouldn't be a job simulator or a cooking simulator or any other countless simulators out there. It can be all of that. The most important thing that I look for a game and that it should be is worth the money I spent on it. Suppose I'm paying $70 to $80 for a Call of Duty. In that case, my expectations do get a little bit hurt when I only get a 3 to 4 hour story mode. And I know that I'm not the only one. And story mode is something that I associate Call of Duty with, especially the Modern Warfare and Black Ops franchises. I expect at least 50 hours of price, soap and ghost if I'm paying that much. And if I'm paying you all of that money, and you say that most of it is for multiplayer, then I'm sorry, but I'd rather go play Valorant or Counter-Strike. Even if CS2 is trash, at least it's free and I can play unrated with my friends without paying you such a high sum of money. This is the mindset of normal people who have limited purchasing power. We don't have unlimited money to blow off on our games. Normal people have real costs out in the real world. Education loans, insurance, housing costs, maybe rent if you're staying in an apartment, and being able to afford food and water on top of that. They already have all of these problems out in the real world. I don't think most people want to spend their money and free time trying to figure out how many games and files they'd have to delete or move into another drive so that they can install 309 gigabytes of Call of Duty into their goddamn PC. Which, by the way, I don't understand why. What I do know is those 309 gigabytes are definitely not providing me with 50 hours of price, soap and ghost. And I should mention that it's not always bad games that end up being the reason behind these layoffs. Sometimes it's just bad decisions by these overlord studios, the parent companies who go around acquiring everything they can put their sights on. Example being Tango Studios, who got shut down by Xbox after they had made one of the best games in the Xbox lineup, which was critically praised, won many awards, and was also liked by the general audience of gamers. Still, they got shut down. The acquisition of these various small studios by these bigger studios, which promised them great funding, creative help to reach more audiences, only to then shut them down completely after forcing them to make a game that they have no expertise, business, or interest in making, resulting in a disappointing game like Suicide Squad is kind of being seen more often than we'd like to. Now, even though there is so many bad things happening in the industry, it's not really exclusive to the gaming industry alone. I think layoffs are happening at every other company right now. Companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook, or even Twitch are not immune to this current trend. Eventually, all of these layoffs would probably slow down and get back to normal unless we have another catastrophe around the corner, which let's hope we don't have any. Nevertheless, with every negative thing happening, there are also some positive things happening too. And there are some absolute banger games that we'll be seeing in the upcoming months and in the upcoming years. Of that, I have no doubt. Maybe some of them would be live services like Helldivers, or some amazing story mode games like Black Myth Wukong, which looks very promising and I can't wait to play it. In any case, I know the situation kind of sucks, and hopefully all the developers who got booted by these companies, hopefully they find their job and get a new job at a better place, especially the talented ones who have invested a lot of years in those companies. We can't do much, just hope that it all goes back to normal and these layoffs slow down a bit. I don't think it will stop. Layoffs are something that happen all the time. It's just that it has been happening at a higher rate than it should be. Hope you all had a pleasant time though, listening to me yap about random things. If you have watched till the end, I thank you for doing so. And if you would like to want more videos like this, please let me know. Also share your thoughts on what you think is the reason behind these layoffs and little sloppiness in the gaming industry currently. Or do you even think there is any in the first place? Whatever you feel, please let me know in the comments. We can have a chat about it, a good old discussion. Again, I thank you for watching. Bye bye.